Hello and welcome back to episode 54 of this week's watches, and again another amazing lineup for you all from a big Rolex, and we're going to talk about this one in quite a bit of detail, all the way to a beautiful and very affordable Oris classic date. We've got variety here, we really have, and it's an exciting drop and one I'm really looking forward to bringing to you guys. And as always, down in the description there is a link to every watch you see here. There's also a timestamp to skip to that specific part of the video, because I know a lot of you don't want to sit here and listen to me ramble about all 13 watches we have on the table today. It's quite a few. So skip to the exact one you want. It's nice and easy, nice and quick, and obviously on the website you will find prices and more details than we talk about on the video, so make sure you go check those out. And as always, I want to start off with a big thank you. Another fantastic week. Every week feels like a fantastic week at the moment, and that's thanks to you guys and girls. We have so many watches incoming, which is just brilliant to see. We are set for the next few weeks. That doesn't mean, however, that you should stop sending in your watches. If you have a watch to sell, definitely get in contact. We will either give you a consignment breakdown or a purchase price, or both, which is what we've been doing recently. We've been giving you the option and breaking it down very honestly for you to see. So get in contact, info@Kibble Watches. The easiest way to do it is fill out the sell form on the website. It asks all the necessary questions and gives me as much detail as I need to get back to you. And I do want to say, don't take offense if we don't take your watch. It's nothing personal and it's nothing against the watch usually. It's just we are getting offered so many watches that we are being very picky, and we always have been, but more so now. So we're picking stock that fits what we want to sort of evolve into, but also stuff that's the right price. You know, if you are expecting a bit too much, unfortunately, it's just not going to work out because we have to align with the market. And yes, there's nuances and slight differences that make things more expensive. We're well aware of those sort of things, so we do take that into account. But we're not going to be able to sell a watch for £1,000 more than the market value for no apparent reason, so do keep that in mind. And before we dive into the watches on the table and have a look at what's on wrist, I want to say these have been taken very well. All the people who have ordered watches and received their pouch and their cleaning cloth, they're very happy with them. As I say, there is no additional charge to any sale for these items. They're provided for free with every sale, and we're not selling them separately. So if you do want one, make sure you buy a watch straight off the website and you'll get one of those. As I say, no extra cost. Alternatively, if you're going to be at the London Watch Show, which is March the 18th to the 20th, 17th to the 20th, something like that. Go on their website, you'll see. We are going to be displaying there. We're going to have a table, just as we did last year in August. I thought it was actually a full year ago, but it wasn't. And we're going to be giving out some of these for free to people. So come up, say hello, say you'd like one, and we'll give you one. We're not just going to be standing there handing them out to everyone, so make sure you specifically say you would like one, and we will happily give you one. But what's on wrist? So a watch that I have neglected. I have not worn in a while. I don't wear anywhere near as much as I should. I used to wear this watch all the time, and that's probably what it is. I went for a phase where this was on my wrist most days. And you know what's surprising? I actually wore this watch a lot in summer. So maybe it's a bit more of a summer watch for me, which would make sense with the dial. But anyway, what is it? This is a 1970 Omega, DeVille, Chronostop, Geneva. There's so many nicknames for this watch. The specific reference, let me get it all up because I can get it right here. The perks of the computer being here. This is a reference 146012. I've had a lot of questions after I posted it on the stories, which is great. This watch was made only in 1970 by an Italian designer, and that designer also was the founder of a case making company, I can't remember all the names off the top of my head, that used to make specialized cases for special Omegas, and this being one of them. They only made it for during 1970, so you might find some that are 1971 signed on papers if you can find any with papers, but they were only designed and made for that 1 year. The reason being, no one really knows. There's multiple theories, and the one I personally believe, having sold a few of these now, is that the case construction and the construction of how the movement sits in the case was terrible. So you'll often find with these, when you're changing the time, there's a bit of what's called case wobble, which is where the dial and the whole movement you can feel is not like nicely secure in the case. It's actually a very common thing. All of them have had that feature. So it's a bit of a random thing that happened. Why they didn't resolve it and continue the production. Maybe it didn't sell very well in the first place, or what was the point? But I absolutely love it. And you know what? That little wobble doesn't bother me. The one we had that we sold, we got some sort of like fittings in the case to make it sit a bit better that don't affect the integrity or originality or anything like that. It just helped with the feel of how the watch works when you change the time and everything like that, because it's an important part of the experience of a watch. But they all feel like that, unfortunately. And it's just a funky piece. I really love it. The dial's great. I actually have the original box up here, which is a green DeVille box, as you can see. And this box is dedicated to this model. So if you see one of these boxes, it's quite a rare box actually, and probably worth a few bob on its own, which is kind of cool. All right, after that really long explanation of what's on my wrist, that was probably the longest ever. Let's get on to what you're actually here to see, which is the watches that are for sale. Let's start with the SeaDweller Deepsea. So starting with one of the smallest watches that Rolex have ever made in their lineup. It is a tiny watch, as you can see. Super thin and will fit under any... I'm joking, this is massive. This is the Rolex SeaDweller Deepsea. This is the 116660666, and this is from August 2014, so it is one of the earliest full ceramic bezel watches that they did. It does come with its full box and papers, fresh from service and polish, not with Rolex, but with a very, very well regarded watchmaker here in London. And you can see it just looks fantastic. Anything you do see is probably fingerprints, to be honest, because those polished corners really do catch all fingerprints they possibly can. This one, as I say, does come with full box and paperwork. It even comes with both swing tags and the original factory stickers that the person took off at retail when they bought it. Back when you could get a Rolex and they'd leave the stickers on. How mad is that? But this is absolutely awesome. It is a beast of a watch. You have to be really either a fairly big guy or woman, or have bigger wrists, or just really, really love big watches. You've got to be in one of those camps, because for most of us, especially me with my smaller, 6 3/4, nearly 7 inch wrist, probably 7 inches, it's a bit too big for me and way too thick, personally. So as this is the August 2014 model, it does come with the thinner bracelet. They did a change later on with a slightly thicker bracelet, but this is the thinner one, and it does feature their very, very cool glide lock technology, which has a slightly different name that I can't remember off the top of my head. So usually with a Rolex, you pull this out and you slide it along. You can see with this one, it don't go anywhere. What you have to do is you have to lift this up, and you can see all those teeth. What they do is they ratchet down and hold that in place. So you've got sort of a huge amount of adjustment on this. And then you also have this dive adjust, which is currently folded in. So you really can have, if your wrist is massive, you could have it even bigger than what it is on the smallest extension with all the links in, which, to put into perspective, when done up on my wrist, I mean, you could fit another wrist in there almost. It's ridiculous how many links this comes with. And this is full links, full box papers, everything. This is how you want it if you are looking for this reference. So, really great watch, really good looking piece. Inside, automatic Rolex caliber 3135, a very common caliber used by Rolex in a variety of models with a date. It's just a very, very cool piece for those of you who like a bigger watch. So I'm very excited to bring this to you guys. Obviously, helium escape valve up there. The reason it's called the Deepsea is because it has an insane depth rating that none of us would ever need to use in our life. You're looking at around 3,800 meters, which is around 12,800 feet, if I'm not mistaken. It does say on the dial. How ridiculous is that? So really cool history with this. This is the same reference that they do with the James Cameron. So the one with the gradient blue dial, that's also really cool. This is the exact same reference as that one, just the plain dial version, which you actually don't see as often as the James Cameron for some reason. I'd always assume the James Cameron would be harder to find, but if anything, it's easier to find. It's more expensive, but it is easier to find. And this can be had under £10,000. and that comes with the full service, polish, everything like that. So you're getting yourself a really good deal on this one. But they're show on wrist and talk dimensions. So here we go. I think we'd need a pretty big James Bond to wear this one with his suit, that's for sure. What a beast. This is 43mm by 52mm lug to lug. It's definitely too big for me personally. It's not my kind of watch, but I really do appreciate the craftsmanship and the engineering in such a piece like this. And it is 17.5mm thick. That has to be there with one of the thickest watches we've ever had in stock. And it's 21mm lug, so a bit awkward on that lug length, but to be honest, you'd probably only wear it on the bracelet. I would anyway. I mean, I've seen them on rubber straps. It looks pretty cool, but I think because of how top heavy this is, the bracelet does counterweight it quite well. So there it is. Go check this one out on the website for more details. From that beast of a watch to another pretty big watch, and something that I think is absolutely gorgeous. I love the colour scheme. That is the Tudor Bronze 43mm, the OG. So the OG Tudor Bronze, the 43mm that they first released quite a while ago now. And you know what's amazing? When this was released, this was probably one of the hottest Tudors. And if I'm not mistaken, this was one of the first Tudors that actually had a wait list. I remember being in retail and them talking about, you know, the wait list they used to have on this model. And it was one of the first ones that used to trade over retail, and it did for quite a long time. Now it's discontinued and they're creeping up in price again, but they're still very good value, especially when compared with the modern Tudor Bronzes that they've released. Granted, a lot smaller in size in the 58 case, but personally, I think this is really cool. It's a big watch. Again, you've got to be into big watches to enjoy this, but it's definitely much more wearable than the Rolex we just had a look at, that's for sure. But the colours on this are gorgeous. You've got that sort of browny dial with that more vibrant brown. Bezel matched beautifully on this vintage style strap that it comes on. This is the original and it has seen better days, and in the box is the original NATO as well. So you have got options, and it is a 23mm lug width, which is a bit awkward, but straps can be had, and I would recommend a custom strap from Strap Tailor to sort of suit your needs of what you'd want with this. Explorer style dial, those beautiful snowflake hands. I think this is just a well designed, good looking watch, and hopefully they do this exact one just smaller, maybe in like a 40mm or something. I think that'd be really cool. But the reference to this is 79250BM. Inside here is an automatic Tudor caliber MT5601, and as you can see, it has a gold tone caseback. This is not bronze, because ideally you don't really want bronze on your skin for long periods of time. Now there are watches, and we'll be looking at one which has a bronze bracelet, but personally I would rather not have bronze directly on my skin for extensive periods of time. That's just me, but a good looking watch nonetheless. So yeah, really cool piece. December 2017, it does come with its full box and paperwork. We sold one a little while ago, so it's good to get another one in. I think these are a bit of a hidden gem within the Tudor lineup, and I think there's quite a few of those. You know, you look at the advisor pieces, you look at the North Flag, so many different variants which I think people are sleeping on, and I think this is one of them. But they're show on wrist and talk dimensions. Here we go on my wrist. That looks good with my jacket I'm wearing at the moment. I think this looks really good. This is 43mm by 52.5mm lug to lug. Only 14mm thick, so it does wear quite well despite the bigger size. And 23mm lugs, as I said, so a bit awkward on that lug size, but not impossible. You know what? On my wrist, I think I can just about get away with that. It's definitely on the larger size and not something I would typically wear, but I really do like the design of this. So it is something I would probably wear from time to time. So head on over to the website and pick it up for an absolute bargain. From there, we have a lot of different watches on the table. Where are we going to start? I think we're going to have to start with the vintage Omega Ranchero. Yes, we have another one. I know it's not the same one as last time. Let's take a closer look. Next up, the only vintage watch in this week's drop. We're going to get some more vintage pieces in. Don't you worry. We still love them. We still like to get them in. But the modern stuff, it just gets through a lot quicker because there's usually a lot less, if anything, to be done mechanically. Whereas vintage pieces, we have to check them over a lot more thoroughly. We have to get everything sorted, so that is why there's not as many. But this is a gorgeous Omega Ranchero. So a lot of you remember we had one a little while ago that sold so quick. I don't even know if it made the website or the drop. I can't remember, to be honest, but it was a gorgeous example with Seamaster on the dial. That makes it very rare. And surprisingly, the normal Ranchero is still incredibly rare, just not as rare as the Seamaster one. But right here we have a gorgeous example of a CK2990 from circa September 1958. An absolute gorgeous example in original condition, as you can see. The case has been refinished at some point in its past, and it doesn't have an official Omega crystal, but these are minor points, but ones that we obviously will always mention. You can see we've got it paired on a nice suede strap with a repro buckle, just because it adds a nice little touch to it. But look at that dial and those hands, beautifully aged. And one thing to always point out is often the dial and the hands on these models age differently, because the loom and the production place of the dial and hands was different places. So the mixture they used in the production was different, therefore will age differently. You might see ones that are perfectly matched. I mean, it's very difficult to say. You know, some of them may have just got lucky and perfectly aged. Some of them I really do believe are colour matched or picked out. I think there's probably some watchmakers out there with dials and hands waiting around and just so happen to find a very good matching pair. But again, these aren't things you can prove. You can't prove that these hands were born on this watch. That's just the name of the game. But as long as they're correct, which they are, that's the most important thing. So, absolutely gorgeous. Inside is a manually wound Omega caliber 267, a very robust workhorse movement. And it's kind of funny that this model is probably one of the most desirable of these simple time-only Omegas, yet it has probably one of the most simple movements that Omega produced at the time. You know, it's just really, really nice to see. Gorgeous profile of case as well. I absolutely love these, and I think if you are looking for that explorer style, simple freehander watch, but don't want to pay those ridiculous prices that the 1016 or whatever other reference the 5500s have reached, this is what you should be looking at, because it is arguably rarer, and you know, they're undervalued. I still think there is so much room for these to grow, and if the Seamaster range of the same period is anything to look at and sort of judge by, this is still going to grow. But let's put it on wrist and talk dimensions. And here we go on wrist. This is where this watch really, really shines. Beautifully classic proportions at 36mm by 44.5mm. Lug to lug, only 10mm thick, so super thin, sits under a cuff beautifully, as you can see, disappears and peeks through just that little bit. 18mm lugs, so endless options on straps. You know, this brown suede, if it isn't for you, first off, what's wrong with you? Where's your taste at? But second off, we have plenty of straps to choose from, so don't worry. But I think this looks brilliant. So go check this one out on the website and pick it up today for a bargain. From quintessential vintage and beautifully executed, let's have a look at something that the Germans have done insanely well to the same sort of standards that Omega would have held themselves to when designing that Ranchero. That is the Damasco D84. So next up, we have the Germans with Damasco, and a brand that I think is not as appreciated as it should be. I really do think they are like the little brother or sister of Zinn, and Zinn charge a lot more for most of their models, whereas Damasco, I think, offer all of the same stuff. Now, granted, there are differences, there are points of mention, there are things you have to know, but in general, for the average watch person, the person buying this watch to enjoy and wear, I think you're saving yourself a lot of money by going with Damasco, and arguably they have some nicer designs. Again, all that is relative and subjective, so you make your own decision, but this is a gorgeous example. This is the DA44 from August 2017. It does come with its full box and paperwork, and I believe a spare strap as well, but it is on its bracelet with those hex links, I believe they're called hex links, screws which are bonkers. You basically like build the bracelet, each bit comes apart and you have to put it together. It's not the easiest of things, so if you want it sized before we ship it, do let us know and we can do that for you. We'll do our best to get it perfectly sized for you. This bracelet is one hell of a clip in. You have to like pull it out. It does take quite a bit of force, so don't be shy with it. You're definitely not going to break it, that's for sure. All signed case back, as you can see, screw down. Inside is an automatic ETA 2836-2. Very reliable workhorse movement. Day date over there. Nice pops of red. I love this watch. I think it's really cool. You can see the case. It looks like titanium or some sort of like brushed, sandblasted, bead blasted, whatever you call it, metal, but it's actually tegimented steel. Hopefully I've said that right. And basically it is a treated steel that is so resistant to almost everything. Now, please don't be one of those people who thinks that means it can't get a scratch and it can't get a mark. It certainly can. Nothing is completely scratch proof or resistant to wear. However, this, as you can see, is a worn watch from that era, from 2017, yet I can't see a single mark on it. It is ridiculous how good this material is. Zinn use a very similar, if not the same process. And again, I'm always amazed by how new these watches look time and time again. So if you're looking for something that you can wear whilst doing anything, literally anything, this is probably the watch you want to pick up because it will resist anything and still look good. But let's show on wrist and talk dimensions. Here we go, perfectly fitted for my wrist at the moment. Oh, it's a sign, it's a sign. This is 40mm by 48mm lug to lug, only 12mm thick and 20mm lugs. That's pretty universal sizing for modern watches, so Damasco have nailed it. This really does tick so many boxes for so many people, and it looks fantastic. That's the most important thing to me, the aesthetics. Everything else is secondary, and luckily, they do everything else super well. And price-wise, this is a hell of a lot of a watch for the price. So head over to the website and check it out. I think we're going to leave all the Oris till last, so let's actually start with the Farers. Let's have a look at the GMT bezel cruise. Next up from Farer, a brand we have stocked quite a few times, and you know what, I really like them. I think they are super great for the money. And this is a, look at that dial, that just pops. This is a Farer GMT cruise as it's known. I'm probably butchering that pronunciation, but what a pop of colours they have gone with this watch. You've got that sort of deep burgundy wine colour with that pop of blue and that hint of red. I mean, this is just a summer watch if there ever was one. You've got a really interesting GMT bezel, which works as a GMT bezel should. Goes back and forth. You've got the signed crown with their iconic bronze inlay in there, something they've always done. They used to do full, I don't know if they still do, but they used to do full bronze crowns altogether, whereas now they've opted more for this inlay, which I personally prefer. I don't like the whole bronze crown. It becomes quite soft over time. Whereas this, I think, is a better execution personally. And as you can see, looking at it, it's pretty much new, which is ridiculous. You can see exhibition case back, their signed rotor there. This is a automatic Sellita SW330-1, which for those of you who know your GMTs, you've probably heard of that a million times because it's often used. Very nice strap this is, and it just looks fantastic. Really good looking piece. And this one is from October 2020. It does come with its full box and paperwork. There's not really an awful lot to say, dislike, or anything else with this watch. It is a good looking GMT. It's something a bit different, and I think it is beautifully executed and a really interesting, almost cushion torno-ish shape, rather than your simple rounded case. But let's show on wrist and talk dimensions. Here we go, I'm going to rest that on wrist so you guys can be the first to put the creases in the strap. But this is beautifully proportioned at 41mm by 46mm lug to lug, only 12.5mm thick and 20mm lug, so endless options on the strap. I personally would be going with some sort of deep burgundy red strap, which I think would look absolutely awesome. Maybe even, I'm going to say it, maybe even a NATO. Oh, taking a risk there, but what a cool looking watch. And I really love that contrast with the GMT hand. I think that really pops. So go check this one out on the website and save yourself a bit of money on retail. From there, let's have a look at the other Farer we have. It is the World Timer Roche. I don't know how you pronounce it, but let's have a look. So it's World Timer time, and this time from Farer. That was a lot of times and t-t-t-s. What a beautiful case and really well engineered. I love this watch. This is probably one of my favorites from them. And this exact example as well with this color. They do a few different colors, but I love this one with that very dark blue. You've got that pop of green, which is the same in the loom for the hands. You've got the outer World Timer section. You've got the inner rotating disc, which changes with the time as well. I just think this is very well done. So well done, Farer. I really like it. You can see exhibition case back, vibrant red, almost reminiscent of Oris in a certain way, but not quite the same. And this is a ETA 2893-1, the Elaborate version, which is their better upgraded and better refined movement that ETA provide at a higher cost. So it's nice that it comes with that. And the cost isn't actually really reflected in the price, to be honest. I think they could ask a lot more for these watches at retail than they do, but they don't. So you manage to get an even better deal when it comes to pre-owned like this one. This one is from October 2019. It does come with its full box and papers, and it's in very good condition, as you can see. Strap is probably one of the only places where you're going to see some wear, which is, you know, kind of rare to see. But the person who had this watch before very well looked after it. And I know for a fact the next owner is going to be very impressed and very happy with this. This is the Roche model. I don't know if I said, I probably didn't, or Roche, however you pronounce that. But let's show it on wrist and talk dimensions. And here we go on wrist, really well proportioned at 39mm, which is quite surprising because it doesn't look like it would be 39. It looks like it would be bigger. you know what, it wears beautifully. 39mm by 46mm lug to lug, only 10.5mm thick. That is super thin for this kind of complication. And 20mm lugs, again, endless options there. I really like it on this. I saw it on a mesh and I thought that was really cool as well. So I don't know, endless options. Go check it out on the website, and again, save yourself some money on retail. From there to a very awesome limited edition Christopher Ward. It won't be for everyone, but for those who like it like I do, it's quite a rare piece and it's really, really cool. That is the C65 Dive Time. I've got a lot of interesting colours in this drop, and this is one of my favourites, the Christopher Ward C65 Dive Timer. How cool is this? Limited to only 150 pieces altogether. You've got a dive time dial, which you can actually use. I have no idea how you do or what any of it means, but there is a breakdown that you can find online on how that works. A few other brands have used this same dive time style. Mido comes straight to mind, but there's plenty, and it's absolutely awesome. And you'll notice straight away how thin this watch is, and that's because behind that case back is a manually wound Sellita SW210, which is really nice. A screw down crown and manually wound is sort of more interactive with the watch. My personal Christopher Ward is also manually wound. I just like it like that. It comes paired on original Christopher Ward blue rubber strap, which looks fantastic. And this one is from July 2021 with its full box and paperwork. So you're getting everything with it, and you're getting the chance to buy a one of 150 piece Christopher Ward for under £1,000. I think that's pretty good going. Let me know what you think. But let's show it on wrist and talk dimensions. And here we go. And as Danny just said to me now, they're explaining in the manual how to use that dive time dial. So if you want to use it, you're more than welcome to. I don't think anyone will though, but hey, here we go. Absolutely gorgeous design. Really great on wrist. And it wears pretty much identical to how my yellow wears, which is 41mm by 47mm lug to lug, only 11.5mm thick, which is super thin. And it just sits so well on the wrist. And you have 22mm lugs, so you've got endless options, either official Christopher Ward, including the bracelet. You can pick a bracelet up from them. They're actually not too expensive considering the build quality, in my opinion. So I would highly recommend picking up the bracelet for this watch. But what a good looking watch. Not really an awful lot to say because I really like it. So go over to the website, let the photos speak for themselves, because this is very photogenic. From there to the final watch on the table that's not an Oris, let's have a look. It is a Longines Conquest Heritage, and these are probably one of the best vintage replicas, if you will, as close to the original. Let's have a look. Well, as I said, the best looking Longines Heritage watch, in my opinion. I think they have absolutely nailed this, both in the silver and the black. It's true to proportions, it's true to design, it just ticks all the boxes, and I think Longines have done very well. Even Hesselite Crystal, which won't be to everyone's taste, and that's okay, you know, but this is true to form. And I think if you want that vintage style and aesthetic, but don't want to have all the risks that come along with vintage, this is always my go-to recommendation for people, because you really do get that charm of vintage. And a lot of people, when they see it on wrist and at watch events, they often have to ask, is that the re-edition or the vintage? Because it is so well done. But this is the Longines Conquest Heritage, reference L1.611.4.75.2. There you go. Good luck remembering what I just said. And behind this case back with the enameled medallion is a Longines caliber L633. As Longines own Sellita and many other brands, it is a modification of, sorry, not Sellita, ETA. It is a modification of an ETA. It's a very good, reliable movement. And interestingly, dates up there at 12, which I really like. I know a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but a few people aren't so fond on it. I think it's pretty cool, and it actually makes for a different sort of wearing experience. Beautifully gilded, rose gold gilded as well, or pink gold as they would have probably called it back in the day. Indices and hands, which just contrast beautifully against that dial. You've got a signed crown over there. This is the original strap and buckle. It's seen better days, so we will provide another strap with it. Probably a brown, because I think this looks beautiful on a brown. It really tones it down. But that's enough rambling. Let's show it on. Oh, it's from February 2020 with box and papers, I forgot to say. But let's show it on wrist and talk dimensions. So a lot of people will hear those dimensions and shy away, and I will say you shouldn't. You really shouldn't. You're missing out, because this wears like a traditional vintage watch, but because it's just all dial basically, it wears a lot bigger than the dimensions lead you to believe. Especially when it is 35mm by 42mm lug to lug. and it's only 10mm thick, so super thin, and that's even with that crazy domed crystal. So it sits super low on the wrist, and 18mm lug, so endless options there. Personally, I think this looks best on a brown. You guessed it, a brown suede, but it's a great looking watch. So go check this one out on the website, and again, an absolute bargain for a full set modern Longines. Now that that's all of those out of the way, we're just left with the Oris, and we're going to have to start with the classic date in 37mm, an absolute gorgeous piece. Now, if you are looking for an Oris but don't want to spend too much at all, this is the one for you. This is the Oris Classic Date, and the reason it's called Classic Date is because it looks classic and it has a date. Isn't that great? Look at those numerals in the hands and the indices. This is just such a gorgeous looking watch, and that dial has a variety of different finishes, almost like a record concentric circle finish, which just really pops when on wrist. And even though it's an all black dial, it has those sort of nuances that really do bring it to life, and I think it looks great. You've got a fairly big crown over there, you've got an exhibition case back with that iconic red rotor, and inside is an Oris caliber 733, which is essentially a Sellita SW220 or 200, I think actually 200, but a good looking and very well produced movement. This isn't the original strap, but it has got the original buckle. Yeah, I mean, just what a good looking watch. The exact reference of this one is 733-7578, which is usually the bit people reference, the 7578, because 733 is reference to the movement. There's a little insider tip for you guys and girls, and it finishes off with 4064. This one is from circa 2010s. It doesn't come with any box and papers, unfortunately, but that is why when you head over to the website, you'll see how affordable this piece is for how much watch you're really getting. And to have a modern Oris on your wrist, so modern even with the red rotor, and this good looking, I think is perfect. Now let's show on wrist and you'll see where it shines even more. Here we go on wrist. This is one of those real gems, under £500. So head over to the website, honestly, before I change my mind. But 37mm by 44.5mm lug to lug. That is really well proportioned dimensions. 9.5mm thick, so again super thin, and 18mm lug, so endless options on those pairings. Again, this one black always looks good. It's that classic look. A Milanese bracelet, so again that mesh style, again looks really good. I would highly recommend exploring some options. But with a watch like this, you're pretty much set. And as I say, under £500, it makes a great first time watch, a gift, or just a little treat for yourself. Head over to the website. And before we move on to the Diver 65, which we have 3 on the table, let's go to the one Aquis we have, which is the awesome Upcycle. So it is Aquis time, and this is the Upcycle, and you can probably guess why it's called the Upcycle. That dial right there is unique, so every single dial of this reference is slightly different because that is made from recycled plastics. If I'm not mistaken, melted down and compressed into a dial. I'm sure it's more technical than that, but there's the basic gist of what it is, and that's why you have this almost, I want to say almost like a galaxy spread across the dial, which looks so cool. It won't be for everyone, that's okay, but it's got a really good meaning behind it. And again, the charity focus of Oris is something to be admired across the industry, especially as they are independent. They're not owned by a big conglomerate who can pump in as much money as required to keep them going. They really do rely on sales, and yet they are still so giving and do so many charity events and so many different things that, you know, I have incredible respect for the brand and wish them nothing but great success. So when I get the opportunity to stock some of their watches pre-owned, I jump at the opportunity because I love the brand and I love what they do, and their watches are fantastic. This is the Aquis 41.5mm. We'll get onto dimensions later, but that's important to mention because they do a smaller version as well. This is the bigger version. You can see paired on its original integrated style bracelet. They do offer different strap options, be it leather or rubber, directly from Oris with their sort of hex screw caps. You have a dive extension on the bracelet as well, does come with all of its links. Exhibition caseback, again showing the Oris Caliber 733, iconic red rotor. This is just one good looking watch. I won't recite the reference to you because it's a crazy long reference. Go over to the website to see that. It is from September 2021, and it does come with its full box and paperwork. So you're all set and ready to go with this one. But let's show on wrist and talk dimensions. Here we go on wrist. I think a lot of you guys and girls will be surprised by the price of this one on the website. This is the classic 41.5mm by 48mm lug to lug. It wears so well. I always love this Aquis. 12.5mm thick and 11mm lugs, but again, as I say, integrated. That's 11mm right there. It flares out obviously a lot more than that and tapers down to the clasp. A great looking and very affordable watch for how much watch you are getting, and something so unique. This is a talking point. You know, you wear this to the office or wherever you may be, people are going to go, what is that? What's going on with that dial? And you've got a story to tell. So go check it out. Now let's go on to what could be one of the most limited Oris limited editions they've ever done. I don't know if that's true, but I suspect it is, because usually they're quite large numbers. This is limited to 65 pieces, and it is a partnership with Chrono Tempest. Let's have a closer look. So as I said, probably one of the most limited released Oris that they've done. Again, I don't know that for definite, but knowing the kind of numbers most of their limited editions are in, 65 pieces is not a lot at all. This is a limited edition with Chrono Tempest, obviously in the Diver 65 range, and as far as we can tell, not a single one of these have ever come up for sale. So this is the first of the 65 to come up for sale. It is like new condition, the case back being completely polished. They always pick up scratches as soon as you breathe on them, so it has got a few hairline scratches, but the rest of it, as you can see, is in fantastic condition. Comes paired on its original strap, swing tag, unworn strap, and it comes with a multitude of spare straps as well. You can see the photo of that on the website. Now you've got this really interesting grey sort of fume dial, very similar actually to my Amiga. Let me just pull that up next to it. That is a very similar dial. I've only just noticed that. Pretty cool. And you've got that sort of vintage style loom with the greeny aspects in the hands and the indices. No date on it, which is nice, and you have a vibrant red second hand, very true to the original. A good looking watch, screw down case back, as I say, limited to 65 pieces total, and inside is the Oris caliber automatic 733. You'll see a theme here. I think they all have that caliber. It's reliable, there's no need to change it. This one is from November 2021. It does come with its full box, papers and accessories, so nicely done, and a very good looking watch. If you're wanting an Oris that even the biggest Oris fans probably wouldn't know, this is the one for you. And I think it's just a good looking watch as well. It is bigger at 42mm. That's something to keep in mind, but let's show on wrist and talk dimensions. Here you go, I'm just going to rest this one on wrist as well. It is a bigger watch at 42mm by 50.5mm lug to lug, only 13mm thick and 21mm lugs. Bit awkward on that lug size, but again, it comes with a variety of straps, so you won't be short for choice, that's for sure. A good looking watch. There's not really a lot more to say about it. You're getting something that's quite stealth within the Oris line, and something that I don't think a lot of people would have ever heard of, even know about, and even more so when you tell them the story, I think they're going to be very well impressed. So go check this one out. From there to another limited edition, this time done with Revolution and the Rake, Waco, a lot of you guys know who he is. Really interesting watch. This is the Honey. So another limited edition, this time the Oris Honey, and I wonder if you can see why it's called that. What a very cool dial, and you know what, it actually really works with the black bezel, with the bronze and the bronze on the bracelet. It's a good looking watch. I'm not a huge fan of bronze in general, to be honest, especially bronze for a bracelet, but this does come with other strap options as well, so a really good option. Limited edition with the Rake and Revolution, and obviously Waco had a leading role in the production of this watch in terms of design, and I think it's just very unique. Again, another talking point, and this is something Oris do very well. They produce fantastic watches, but they give a variety of options when it comes to dials, and this is a great option as well. So inside here is an automatic Oris caliber 733. Again, something you're all familiar with. This is a worn example, and that bronze has not been touched, so it is patinaed away, as you can see, and you can even see some build up in there, which is natural for bronze. You can clean this up. There are ways of doing it with certain mixtures. If you want to go ahead and do all that, it's your choice. Personally, I would wear this on a brown leather, and I think you'd be set. You've got no bronze contact with the skin, and you've got yourself a very good looking watch. But this one is from around 2019. For some reason, the card wasn't scanned in properly, so when you check online, it doesn't give you a reading, but it is all correct. It is full box papers, just not correctly stamped, which has happened. From working in retail, I can tell you that sometimes people get overexcited when the sale opportunity comes and they forget to scan it through the system. It can happen. So this is a very good option, and let's show it on wrist and talk dimensions. And here we go on my wrist. It wears beautifully in that 40mm case. This is 40mm by 48mm lug to lug, only 12.5mm thick and 20mm lugs. So, endless options right there. That's a good looking watch. Again, on a brown strap for me personally, and you'd be set. Go check this one out on the website. Again, not as expensive as you may think. And last but certainly not least, the classic. There's 65 divers on the black rubber strap. I love this model. I think it's probably one of the best values in the vintage styled diver range from a mainstream brand. And Oris happened to be independent still, so all the better. Let's take a closer look. Wowzers, going through 13 watches in one sitting like this is a pretty extensive task. But here we go, the final one. And one of my favorites. This is the Oris Diver 65. I call it the classic because it is very true to the original with those bold, almost Art Deco numerals in there, which are loomed absolutely perfect. You've got the date down there at 6 o'clock, which blends quite nicely. Personally, I prefer it without a date, but you know what? It's a handy thing to have. And I do find whenever I don't have a date on my watch, I often look to see what the date is. Typical. But this one is paired on its original black rubber Oris strap, which is this tropic style, very true to the original as well. As you can see, signed screw down case back, no exhibition, and again, Oris caliber 733. I'm not going to recite the reference because again, it is ridiculously long, but this one is from March 2017. It does come with its full box and paperwork, and condition is very good. I will say those case backs, as I've said before, they scratch as soon as you breathe on them. They're ridiculous. They are so, like, just, they develop scratches. So that is something to keep in mind. But the rest of it, really, really good. But let's show it on wrist and taut dimensions. We go. That just works so well on the wrist. And this, again, is a strap monster, believe it or not. And again, I'm going to say it, brown suede is what I would put on this because it just really works. It goes with the black and it goes with that slightly sort of faux patinaed loom all over the hands and the dial, but gorgeous watch. So 40mm by 48mm lug to lug, only 12.5mm thick and 20mm lugs. So go check this one out on the website. Again, an absolute bargain for what you're getting, and you can't go wrong. Oh, so there you have it, guys and girls. That was 13 watches. If you watched this entire video from start to finish, thank you. And also, why would you do that? Why would you listen to me talk about watches for that long? But I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope you like the variety we're aiming to bring you each and every single week. For those of you that are new, we do this every Saturday. The goal is every Saturday we're going to bring you new watches, at least 6 or 7 plus. Recently, it's been a lot more than that every single week. And if we can keep that up, why not? So make sure you're ready. Saturday, 9:30 a.m. The video goes live, the watches hit the website. But if you want to beat all that and you want to get in first, make sure you follow us on Instagram at Kibble Watches. You'll see a segment called Coming Soon on our profile. Click through that and you'll see all the watches that aren't yet on the website. Message me for more details of pricing and you can beat the site. So thank you all very much for watching and we'll see you all again next week. Take care.